So Nintendo can be a bit overprotective when it comes to defending their company in terms of, oh, you can't upload this content because it's my intellectual property, or you can't do this with your our game because it's my intellectual property. And Nintendo has actually been getting a bit of hate, and there's been a bit of controversy for a while surrounding Nintendo whenever this pops up. And at least I was actually able to catch wind of this just a few days ago. There's a YouTuber out there by the name of PointCrow, I believe, and what he does is he speedruns it, The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, and his job is to make videos of speedrunning The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. And he does this for fun, he does this because he enjoys it, he loves the Zelda franchise, and he actually wanted to take it a step further to appease his audience and entertain his audience. So what he does for his job is he speed runs The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild with a twist. So he adds like mods to make it more challenging. So what some of the mods are, and keep in mind, these are not like pay to win mods at all. No, these were mods made by the community. These are all free. And he even made a video expressing his worries because Nintendo's been taking down his videos, which I'm going to talk about in a second. But Point Crow is a speedrunner that plays Breath of the Wild with mods, and these mods can verify into, oh, if his chat can make him laugh, then a bunch of bears just spawn out of nowhere and maul Link to death. Or if if his Twitch chat can make him say a certain word like poo poo, for example, then lightning strikes out of nowhere and kills Link instantly. Or he'll play with a certain modifier. Whenever he opens a random chest, then he could get the Master Sword from the random chest, for example, or he could get a Giga Shield. I think that's the clan's name. I keep forgetting the name. I think it's Giga Clan. They could get a Giga Shield, for example, and it's completely RNG, and there are also other mods too that make it more entertaining and fun. Personally, I've seen some of his content. I say he's done a very good job of this stuff. I think it's amazing, but Nintendo didn't like that, and they were getting overprotective. And what happened was Nintendo decided to take down some of his videos and issue copyright strikes or copyright claims to YouTube because it's my intellectual property. You can't do something like that. And this really upset Point Crow because he has been a major Nintendo fan. He loves Nintendo and he loves the Legend of Zelda franchise. And what Nintendo has been doing is just unacceptable. Now, before I get on my rant with Nintendo, I personally love Nintendo. I am a big fan of Nintendo since I was a baby. I enjoyed The Legend of Zelda since I was a little kid. The Ocarina of Time, in my opinion, is still one of the best Zelda games of all time, next to Majora's Mask and Breath of the Wild. It's up there. It's a pretty good game. Don't get me wrong. I beat Breath of the Wild, and it's an amazing game, but I think I prefer the Ocarina of Time any day. But I digress. But what's been happening is Nintendo has been pretty much dropping the hammer on Point Crow, saying, no, you can't do that because this is my intellectual property. Like, what the actual hell? Like, if Nintendo's gonna issue copyright claims and strikes and complain to YouTube and have them take them down, then why in the world would people make content on your games in the first place, Nintendo? Like, if you think about it, this guy did nothing wrong. All he was doing was showing his love and passion for the game that you guys made in the first place, may I add. Excuse me. He was just showing his love and passion for the game that you guys made, and he was just showcasing some mods that would make the game even more fun. And keep in mind, these were not like cheating mods. They were not cheating. They were just funny little mods to make the game more funnier, more interesting, and more awesome. Like, for example, sometimes your chat could interact with your game, and sometimes they can insta kill Link whenever they feel like it, or they could spawn in a bunch of bears or a bunch of skeletons just out of nowhere if they feel like it. And I think that was pretty hilarious, especially if he's on 1 HP. The chat could like spawn a bunch of bears, and the bears could just come out of nowhere and maul him to death, and they'd be like, "What? No!" No, but on a real note, like stuff like that, it's very harmless and does nothing wrong. And this is pissing Nintendo off because if Nintendo feels like they're getting, I don't want to say violated, but they feel like their IP is getting improperly used, then they're going to be overprotective and they'll just drop the hammer saying, no, you can't do that. And they're going to file copyright strikes and claims and pretty much just ruin people's careers. Like, what the actual hell, Nintendo? Like, again, what did Point Crow do wrong? I didn't I find it hard to believe you, Nintendo. Like what did Point Crow do wrong here? All he was doing, like I said earlier, was showing his love for the game, and he was just showcasing him speedrunning Breath of the Wild, and he was showing off some funny mods that really didn't hurt the game in the first place. All they were just funny little things to challenge himself. Like it did nothing wrong. Point Crow did nothing wrong, and you decided to hurt him anyway. So not only is this going to affect Point Crow's future, but it's also going to affect his career and his livelihood because of what Nintendo's doing. If you ask me, this is just a douchebag move by Nintendo, and it's just going to give them a bad reputation because at the end of the day, the more times that Nintendo does stuff like this, and the more and more that they continue to be overprotective about their property and their intellectual property, and the more they continue to be overprotective and abuse their rights, the more and more bad PR Nintendo's gonna get, and the more they're gonna be looked down on as a bad company. And people are gonna start looking at you and side eyeing you, Nintendo, being like, oh shoot, yeah, this company doesn't allow us to make videos on their games. Yeah, let's just go over the Microsoft and Sony because at least they're not protective of their intellectual properties. Like, come on, Nintendo, you gotta lighten up. And like I said already, at the end of the day, the more you act like this and the more you act overprotective, the more you're going to push your fans away and the more bad PR you're going to get. And this is just unacceptable. Point Crow did nothing wrong. And honestly, Nintendo, you should be ashamed of yourself. And I'm going to take a stand against Nintendo and I'm going to stand up for Point Crow because again, he did nothing wrong. All he was doing was just playing a video game that he enjoyed that Nintendo made, and then Nintendo decided to say, "No, fuck you. We're just going to take your livelihood away." Like, come on, man. If you ask me personally, this is stuff that makes me upset too, and it's a shame because I want to see people enjoy themselves. I want to see people play video games that they enjoy. But if companies like Nintendo are going to abuse the copyright system and abuse their rights in terms of sending out copyright claims and strikes like this, then what's the point of even making videos on Nintendo games in the first place? Let's just say if I were to make a review on Nintendo's latest game as my phone goes off, let's just say if I were to make a review on Nintendo's newest game, for example, Tears of the Kingdom, Nintendo could just decide to just say, nah, we're gonna copyright strike your video, even though you're reviewing our game, because it's my intellectual property. And then that's gonna give people some worry, and they're gonna be like, this person was just reviewing this game, and Nintendo decided to strike his video down? Yeah, let's just avoid Nintendo because they're overprotective of their IP. At least Microsoft and Sony lets us review their games without being overprotective. Like, this is just sad, Nintendo. You gotta learn to lighten up, and you gotta learn to respect your community. Because, like I said already, at the end of the day, you're just giving yourselves more bad PR. And that's all you're doing. You're just giving yourselves a bad reputation and some more bad PR from your fans, community, other people like myself. Like this is just unacceptable. And as a Nintendo fan, I'm standing up for Point Crow, and I'm taking a stand against Nintendo for this. Point Crow deserves better. Point Crow deserves better from you, Nintendo. He did nothing wrong. All he was doing was just showing off his love and care for the game and decided to speedrun with some funny little mods to add a little twist. And Nintendo, you decide to just say, nah, we're not allowing that. Like, come on, Nintendo. You gotta learn to lighten up. You honestly should be ashamed of yourselves. And isn't the point of you making games in the first place supposed to be fun? Because if you're gonna abuse your rights and abuse the copyright system and your intellectual property usage, then why are you making games in the first place? If you're going to get this overprotective, then maybe you shouldn't make games in the first place. That's all I'm going to really say about this. I'm taking a stand against Nintendo, and Point Crow deserves better. So, with that being said, thank you guys all for watching. Let me know what you all think down below. And until next time, you guys, I'm standing up for Point Crow, the speedrunner for Breath of the Wild, and I'm calling out Nintendo for being overprotective of their IP, and they need to lighten up. And I'll see you all later.